It's unbelievable. So once they punch through this, where do they go from here?
So they go up.
Up.
Yep.
It's really, really clever.
It's ingenious. These guys were dialed in.
Alcatraz Island, once a terrifying place that held America's toughest criminals, now looms in mystery. This infamous prison, overshadowed by San Francisco's towering skyline, holds secrets that have fascinated people for years. From the haunting reality of being trapped in one of the most secure prisons in the world, to the bold escape attempts that challenged its unbreakable reputation, Alcatraz offers a spine-tingling look into a past where prisoners would do anything for a chance at freedom. What scary secrets are hidden inside the cold walls of Alcatraz? Join us as we uncover the most terrifying discovery made at the Tunnels of Alcatraz. Alcatraz, the escape-proof prison. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary was known as the prison no one could break out of, yet that didn't stop prisoners from trying again and again. Many attempted to escape from the island prison, but no one can say for sure if anyone ever succeeded. The most famous escape attempt happened in 1962, led by Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers John and Clarence. They pulled off an incredible trick, crafting homemade rafts and creating fake heads to fool the guards during bed checks at night. Despite a huge manhunt, there was no solid evidence they survived after slipping into the cold, dangerous waters of San Francisco Bay. Most people believe the strong currents got the better of them, and they never made it to shore. Throughout Alcatraz's time in operation, there were many escape attempts, but none were officially successful. The prison had 6 towering guard posts and was staffed with over 60 guards, making it extremely secure for the relatively small number of inmates. Its location, on an isolated island, surrounded by icy waters and powerful ocean currents, made escaping seem nearly impossible, solidifying its reputation as one of the toughest prisons in America. From its opening in 1934, Alcatraz ran for 28 years without a confirmed escape. Interestingly, the prison closed in 1963, just a year after the daring 1962 escape attempt. While the official reason given was the high cost of keeping it running, some believe the escape might have influenced the decision to shut down the infamous prison once and for all. The cold waters surrounding Alcatraz Island, located about 1.25 miles off the coast of San Francisco, formed a challenging natural barrier for anyone thinking of escaping. With water temperatures often staying around a freezing 53 degrees Fahrenheit, surviving the icy currents was almost impossible. Prison authorities used this to their benefit, constantly reminding inmates that escaping was pointless, making them believe that even trying would lead to death. This method of discouragement wasn't just physical, it played with the prisoners' minds as well. The cold, dangerous sea was a constant threat that the chances were against anyone brave enough to try and escape. Alcatraz wasn't just a place of steel and stone, it was also a mental prison. The guards and officials knew that to keep control, they had to keep the inmates' hopes crushed. By escaping seemed not only risky, but utterly impossible, they strengthened the prison's image as an unbreakable fortress. Adding to the fear, prison officials spread scary rumors of sharks swimming in the waters, ready to eat any prisoner who tried to swim away. Even though there wasn't much proof of these claims, they were repeated so often that many inmates believed them completely. The fear of the freezing water, along with exaggerated tales of deadly sharks and the ever-watchful, sharp-shooting guards, was enough to make even the bravest prisoners hesitate before trying to escape. Alcatraz was home to some of America's most infamous criminals, like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly, further adding to the idea that this was the final stop for those who ended up there. The combination of harsh natural barriers, strict security, and mental tactics created a crushing atmosphere where even thinking about escape seemed as hard as the actual attempt. Despite the overwhelming odds and the scary stories spread by the prison officials, the strong desire for freedom among the prisoners never completely died out. Alcatraz's history is full of stories about those who tried to beat the system and the odds, showing the unbreakable human spirit. Even today, the prison stands as a powerful symbol of confinement, control, and the lengths to which institutions will go to keep order. Throughout history, there were 14 known attempts to escape from the famous Alcatraz prison, but none of these plans led to freedom. All of them failed, with either the escapees being caught or facing tragic ends. However, one attempt stands out because it almost worked, leaving a lasting question about whether the escapees survived the dangerous waters of San Francisco Bay. San Francisco Bay, a stunning inlet of the Pacific Ocean in Northern California, is well known for its natural beauty, rich wildlife, and long history. This area includes several large cities, San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose, that add to the lively culture and economy of the region. The bay's layout is quite special. It's linked to the Pacific Ocean by the narrow Golden Gate Strait, which is famously crossed by the Golden Gate Bridge. Though the bay itself is not very deep, with an average depth of just 12 to 15 feet, deeper channels allow large ships to pass through. The bay is also fed by the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers, which bring water from the huge Central Valley. People have lived in this region for thousands of years. Long before European explorers arrived, Native American tribes, like the Ohlone, lived in the area. They depended on the bay's rich resources, fishing its waters, hunting in the nearby lands, and gathering shellfish along its shores. These natural resources helped support their way of life and played an important role in their economy and trade networks. The bay was not only a source of food, but also a place of deep cultural importance for these early inhabitants. In 1769, a group of Spanish explorers, led by Gaspar de Portola, became the first Europeans to lay eyes on the San Francisco Bay. Not long after, more Spanish expeditions arrived, and they began setting up missions and settlements throughout the area. One of the most well-known is the Mission San Francisco de Asís, commonly called Mission Dolores, which was founded in 1776. This mission played a major role in both colonizing the region and converting the native people to Christianity. When Mexico gained independence in 1821, the Bay Area continued to grow and change. The Mexican government granted large plots of land, known as ranchos, to Mexican citizens who established cattle ranches and farms on them. During this time, the Presidio, originally built as a military fort by the Spanish, remained in use and became an important stronghold under Mexican control. As we explore the region's rich history, we also dive into one of the most daring and clever escape attempts from the infamous Alcatraz prison, an event that continues to capture imaginations to this day. 1962 Escape Attempt. One of the most well-known escape attempts that forever changed how people saw Alcatraz involved 4 prisoners: Alan West, Frank Morris, and the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence. While Morris and the Anglin brothers are often remembered as the main figures in the escape, it was West who came up with the plan. Sadly, on the night of the escape, West faced a problem that stopped him from joining the others, leaving him behind as they moved forward. Each of these men had a history of escaping from other prisons, which is why they were sent to Alcatraz in the first place. Authorities believed the island prison would put an end to their escape attempts once and for all. West was the first to come up with the daring idea of escaping from Alcatraz, a place thought to be impossible to break out of. The prison's reputation for having shark-filled waters and armed guards with perfect aim played into a fear-driven approach used by the authorities to keep control. This shows how those in charge often exaggerate dangers to maintain order, discouraging prisoners from even thinking about freedom. Alcatraz wasn't just a place of strict imprisonment, it became a strong symbol of how fear can be used to control people. The stories about the prison reflect an ongoing struggle between control and the human spirit's unbreakable desire for freedom. These tales show how far people will go to break free, and the extreme measures that institutions will take to stop them. The myths and facts about Alcatraz also highlight the mental tricks used by prison authorities. By planting deep feelings of hopelessness and fear in the minds of inmates, they effectively crushed many prisoners' will to even try escaping. This shows how stories and fear can be powerful tools to influence behavior, shifting all the power to those in charge, often at the cost of the prisoner's mental well-being. The legacy of Alcatraz, filled with both truth and exaggeration, remains the harsh realities of life behind bars and the tough methods used by authorities to keep control over even the most determined prisoners. At Alcatraz, the prisoners were given basic jobs like cleaning, woodworking, and upkeep. During one of these routine tasks, Alan West came across a possible escape route while cleaning the prison roof. He noticed a ventilation duct that was loosely secured and not strengthened with concrete, revealing a weak spot in the prison's defenses. Unlike other ducts, this one had steel rods that seemed fairly easy to cut or break. Realizing the importance of his discovery, West quickly shared the information with his neighbor, Frank Morris, who was known for his cleverness and ability to think strategically under pressure. Frank Morris, who had a high IQ of 133, understood the potential of the ventilation hole. He wasted no time in creating an escape plan. Seeing the unique opportunity, he recruited John and Clarence Anglin, brothers who were in nearby cells, to join the escape effort. Their close cell locations made communication easier, which was crucial for planning and carrying out their escape. The strategy involved navigating through the prison's complex internal structure to reach the vent behind their cells. This journey would require moving through a series of maintenance and sanitary ducts, which weren't designed for human passage but could be used for their escape. Once they accessed the vent, they intended to cut through the steel rods and climb up to the roof. The walls of the prison, weakened by years of exposure to the salty sea air, worked to their advantage. These walls were less sturdy than they seemed, making them easier to manipulate and break through. Using spoons stolen from the dining hall, the inmates began the slow, careful task of chiseling away at the walls surrounding their cells. They worked carefully to enlarge the vent openings, a process that took several months of discreet labor to avoid being discovered. To keep their activities hidden, they timed their digging to coincide with times when the prison was particularly noisy, such as during music practice sessions. This strategic timing was essential, as any unusual sounds could attract the guards' attention and jeopardize their plans. The inmates' ability to devise and nearly execute an escape highlights the inherent weaknesses in the prison's structure and the oversights of its management. Their use of simple tools like spoons to dig through the prison walls reflected a remarkable level of desperation and cleverness. It also exposed the failure of the prison system to secure and monitor the facility properly. allowing the inmates to exploit its vulnerabilities. In the harsh and strict environment of Alcatraz, they cleverly timed their digging to align with ongoing maintenance work, allowing them to dig without attracting guard attention. Their plan was simple: dig quietly, stay under the radar, and always have one person watching for guards. This cautious approach was necessary in a place known for its strict security, with the highest number of guards per inmate in the country. The risk of being caught was always present, not only from the constant watchfulness of the guards, but also from the chance that fellow inmates might betray them. Surprisingly, the inmates found support among their peers in the tough world of prison life. There was an unspoken rule about helping one another's escape attempts. Even though around 80 inmates were aware of the plan, none of them informed the guards. This silence among the inmates emphasized the strong bond formed through shared struggles and a common desire for freedom. Using their skills and makeshift tools, they worked tirelessly to carve out a path to freedom, showing that even in the bleakest circumstances, hope and friendship could flourish. Hidden workshop above cells. To keep their escape routes secret, the inmates used their creativity and resources from the prison workshop. They cleverly crafted fake wall sections from cardboard, painting them to match the color of the prison walls. Additionally, they arranged their personal belongings to hide any signs of the holes they had created. This method of concealment was not just clever, it was essential. It allowed them to work on their escape plan without being detected for months. Through their persistent efforts, they made openings large enough for a person to fit through, marking a significant step in their escape plan. However, getting out of their cells was just one part of the challenge. Their ultimate goal was to escape the island itself, surrounded by cold, rough waters. Crossing this water posed a serious obstacle, requiring careful planning and consideration of factors like tides and weather, which could drastically affect their chances of success. As the inmates approached their escape date, their plan grew more complex and layered. They had to think about how to acquire or build a raft, navigate the treacherous waters, and avoid detection once they were out of the prison. Every detail of their plan had to be meticulously planned and executed with precision. This story of determination and ingenuity showcases how, even in the most controlled environments, the human spirit's drive for freedom can inspire remarkable resourcefulness. The inmates' efforts to outsmart one of America's most secure prisons reveal a deep resilience and a profound understanding of both the physical and psychological aspects of escape. Their experience serves as a dramatic reminder of how desperate circumstances can lead to extraordinary actions and intricate plans, carried out with great care and caution. They discovered an innovative solution for crossing the cold surrounding waters. If they managed to escape, they had found an article in a mechanics magazine explaining how to construct a rubber boat using raincoats, which were surprisingly easy to find in the prison. With the help of other inmates, they secretly gathered about 50 raincoats. The big question was where to hide and assemble these materials without being caught. They found the perfect spot above their heads, on the roof of their cells, near a ventilation duct that inmate Alan West had discovered earlier. However, this area was usually monitored by guards. Under the guidance of Morris, West executed a clever trick, convincing the guards that hanging sheets and blankets over the bars above the cells was necessary to prevent dust from falling during cleaning. This seemingly harmless request worked to their advantage, providing a cover for their escape preparations. The guards, perhaps too trusting or distracted by other duties, allowed this to happen, unwittingly giving the inmates a hidden workshop right under their noses. This oversight represented a significant flaw in the security of a prison that was meant to be escape-proof. For 2 months, this hidden spot served as a workshop where the inmates worked diligently. They transformed the collected raincoats into a rubber boat and life jackets essential for their aquatic escape. They also worked on enlarging the ventilation duct opening to serve as their escape route. They brought all necessary tools to this location, effectively turning it into a well-equipped workshop while remaining hidden from the guards thanks to the very sheets and blankets that the guards had approved. However, every time the inmates spent long periods on the roof working on their escape tools, they faced a significant risk of being caught during random cell checks by the guards. To solve this problem, they devised another clever plan. They crafted fake heads using materials they could find, such as soap, toilet paper, and real human hair. These heads were placed on their pillows at night, covered with blankets to create the illusion that they were sleeping in their cells. This deception was effective enough that when guards checked the cells at night, they saw what appeared to be inmates under their blankets and moved on without suspicion. This tactic allowed the inmates to continue their work unnoticed. The fake heads, crafted with attention to detail to withstand cursory glances from the guards, are still preserved in the prison archives as evidence of the inmates' resourcefulness. Their creation highlights not only their creativity, but also points to deeper issues within the prison system, raising questions about the effectiveness of security measures when simple tricks can undermine them so thoroughly. This event not only demonstrates the inmates' ability to think creatively in their quest for freedom, but also critically exposes significant gaps in a prison system that prides itself on being escape-proof. The successful concealment of their workshop and the use of decoys to fool the guards reflect a significant breakdown in the supposed vigilance of the prison's security apparatus. The late discovery and reporting of these security lapses, which only surfaced decades later, add an element of drama to the narrative, underscoring the embarrassment and scandal associated with the breach of security at one of the most famous prisons in history. Crafting the fake heads illustrated the cleverness of the inmates. They gathered whatever materials were within reach in their cells: soap, cement dust from their escape tunnel, toilet paper, glue, and colors from the prison workshop. By mixing these items, they produced very realistic replicas of their heads. The hardest part was making the fake hair look authentic. Luckily, Clarence Anglin, who worked in the prison barbershop, helped by collecting real hair from other prisoners, which they used to give their fake heads a more lifelike appearance. The night of escape. Finally, the escape night arrived, filled with tension and unexpected problems, putting their plan to the ultimate test. Each night, the inmates worked hard in their hidden area, crafting not just the heads, but also the raft and life jackets necessary for their escape. Over 2 months, they prepared everything needed for their breakout. The night of June 11th, 1962, was when they decided to act. As the lights went out at 9:30 p.m., each man placed a fake head in his bed, covered it with a blanket, and arranged the bedding to appear as if they were sleeping. This trick was meant to fool the guards while they sneaked out. They moved toward the ventilation openings they had secretly worked on for months. These openings led to a corridor behind their cells, which took them to their workshop. From there, they could access the ventilation duct that would lead them to the prison roof. Despite their meticulous planning, not everything went smoothly. Alan West struggled to reopen his ventilation cover. The cement he had used to hide the hole had hardened more than he expected, making it very difficult to break through again. Meanwhile, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, who had successfully escaped their cells, were assembling the rubber raft and life jackets and removing metal bars that blocked the vent duct. But Alan was stuck, trapped in his cell by the very cement he had hoped would facilitate his escape. This situation demonstrated how even the most careful plans can falter due to unexpected problems. According to their earlier plan, if one of them faced obstacles, the others would proceed without waiting. Following this agreement, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers continued their escape, successfully reaching the prison roof. They moved stealthily to the outer walls of the prison, which were fenced off, cutting through the fences with surprising ease and making their way toward the beach undetected. On the beach, they had a special device that Frank Morris had adjusted to inflate their makeshift boat quietly. This tool was crucial, allowing them to prepare their raft without making noise that could attract the guards' attention. As morning approached and the prison wake-up bell rang at 7 a.m., the routine count of inmates began. During this count, the guards discovered the dummy head in Frank Morris's bed. The sight of the fake head, instead of the actual inmate, triggered an immediate and intense reaction from the prison staff. Alarms were sounded, and a thorough search was initiated, signaling the start of a large-scale manhunt involving not only the prison guards, but also the FBI. Alan West, who had failed to escape, was immediately questioned by authorities. Although he appeared to cooperate with the investigators, there was a strong belief among them that he was not revealing everything he knew about his fellow inmates' escape plans, especially their intended actions upon reaching San Francisco. Despite extensive search efforts on the island and the surrounding waters, no signs of the escapees were found, suggesting that they had successfully made it to the sea with their raft. Investigators questioned other inmates in hopes of gathering useful information that could lead them to the escapees, but none provided any information that helped the authorities. The search for the escapees soon became one of the most extensive operations undertaken by the FBI. Despite the significant resources and time invested, no definitive evidence of the three men's whereabouts was found. This lack of evidence turned the case into one of the most intriguing and talked about escapes in history. The investigation continued for an extended period, spanning 15 years under the FBI's direction before it was transferred to local authorities for further handling. Ultimately, the FBI concluded that they believed the escapees had drowned at sea, a conclusion partly based on the discovery of items washed up on a nearby shore. Among these items were bags similar to those used in constructing their raincoat-based raft and life jackets. These bags contained not only life jackets, but also personal items, such as photographs and letters belonging to the Anglin brothers. The discovery of these personal items, which held sentimental value, suggested a grim scenario. The assumption was that the brothers would not have abandoned such important possessions unless they were in a dire situation, such as struggling to survive in the ocean. This evidence led to a widely accepted but still questioned conclusion about their fate, while the personal belongings hinted at a tragic end, without definitive proof, like bodies or major parts of their raft. The true outcome of their daring escape remains a subject of debate and speculation. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Deep beneath Alcatraz Island, a team of explorers uncovered a secret tunnel system hidden for decades. They expected old prison cells or forgotten artifacts, but what they found was far worse. As they ventured deeper, the air grew colder and strange. Low whispers echoed around them. Suddenly, the walls were covered in ancient carvings, symbols no one could understand. The group tried to leave, but the path behind them had mysteriously vanished. Panic set in. Then one explorer screamed, pointing at a shadowy figure lurking in the corner. It wasn't human. The creature had long, bony fingers and glowing red eyes, its presence causing the walls to tremble. As the team backed away, one of them disappeared into the darkness, swallowed whole by the tunnel. The others ran for their lives, barely escaping. The tunnels were sealed shut, but no one ever spoke of what truly lies beneath Alcatraz. What was that creature, and why had it been locked away? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Josh's Alcatraz tour. As Josh keeps exploring the prison, he can't help but feel amazed by the huge challenges the inmates must have faced. The cells are far apart, making him question how the prisoners could have possibly communicated and organized their plans. Even with the guide's excited explanations of the smart tricks the inmates used, Josh remains doubtful. The physical distance between the cells seems too great for their escape to have been carried out so easily. This makes Josh wonder if the prison guards underestimated the prisoners' skills or if the prison's security was weaker than expected. The most intense part of the tour comes when Josh is briefly locked in one of the tiny, bare cells, giving him a taste of the tough conditions the inmates endured. The cold, cramped space makes him painfully aware of the suffering they must have faced every day. After this experience, the guide takes Josh down hidden tunnels, showing him the secret paths the prisoners made using simple, makeshift tools. These tools, made from everyday items, are surprising in their simplicity, yet were crucial for their escape. In the workshop, Josh is shocked as he learns how the inmates cleverly built life jackets and rafts out of scraps and limited materials. It was pure survival instinct and an unyielding hunger for freedom that drove them to such extraordinary lengths. The guide points out several objects that were key to the prisoners' escape, many of which are now with the FBI. Among these items, the handmade life vests stand out the most. Inspired by old magazines from the prison library, these vests show the inmates' ability to turn even the most ordinary resources into life-saving tools. Josh can't help but think about the irony. A place meant to confine and limit had unintentionally provided the materials needed for escape. Throughout the tour, he realizes that this prison didn't just lock up bodies, it also fueled the inmates' creativity and resourcefulness. Education, even in a controlled setting like this, proved to be more than just a way to grow personally. For these men, it became a literal way out. This dual role of learning, as both empowerment and a tool for freedom, is one of the most significant lessons Josh takes away from the visit. The prisoners' ability to use their limited access to education and materials to plan their escape also gets Josh thinking about the larger implications of locking up such resourceful individuals. During the tour, Josh sees a fake vent grate, an ordinary-looking piece that was crucial to the escape. Made from cardboard, soap, and paint, it was made so carefully that it blended perfectly into the crumbling concrete walls, almost impossible to tell apart from the real structure. The level of detail and care speaks to a mix of desperation and brilliance, turning everyday objects into tools of freedom. Josh learns that for 6 long months, the inmates tirelessly worked on their escape plan, chipping away at the concrete walls with spoons and dull blades, always careful not to get caught. Their resourcefulness didn't stop there. They even built a periscope from scraps they found around the prison. This simple device equipped with a tiny mirror, allowed them to monitor the guards' movements without being noticed. Their cleverness went beyond just solving problems. It was a raw, burning desire for freedom that pushed these men to transform whatever they could find into instruments of escape. Even more impressive, the prisoners turned a vacuum cleaner motor into a makeshift drill, once again showing their talent for innovation despite the restrictions placed on them. The fact that they managed to create such significant tools under such tight conditions only deepens the irony. This place, built to suppress them, was also the source of their means to break free. As the tour continues, Josh is drawn to the lifelike replica heads that the prisoners made. These heads, which looked eerily similar to the inmates themselves, were placed in their beds to fool the guards while they were working elsewhere. In the dim light of the prison at night, these heads were so convincing that they played a crucial role in the success of the escape. But Josh is surprised when he notices there are 4 heads instead of 3. The guide explains that although 4 inmates originally planned the escape, one was unable to join at the last minute. Josh leaves the tour deeply reflective on the sheer determination these men had to reclaim their freedom. The detailed planning, the precision in crafting their escape tools, and their clever tactics to mislead the guards reveal a level of human will that is both remarkable and inspiring. Despite being locked away in one of the most secure prisons of its time, these inmates managed to outsmart their captors in a way that shows the weaknesses of even the most heavily guarded environments. The fate of the escapees remains a mystery, leaving Josh with a lingering sense of uncertainty. Josh's exploration of Alcatraz not only uncovers the dramatic escape story, but also sheds light on the harsh realities of life inside this infamous prison. What are your thoughts on the terrifying discovery at the Tunnels of Alcatraz? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section.